We are going to be doing an Overexplained run. We did this fairly recently. But this one isn't going to be totally geared towards new players, but maybe someone who has put in a decent amount of hours into the game, and they're looking to just, what's the best way to complete the game with 32 heat? And I think this could be a build that allows you to do that still. This might be one of the, for me, obviously, it's one of the easiest builds to do with 32 heat. You're gonna need, at a bare minimum, a 7-minute deadline. Maybe, I mean, again, like, so this is just my opinion on what should be easiest for a 32 heat run. Technically, you can do it a million, you know, practically infinite ways how you can do this. This is what I'd recommend to someone, though, personally. I'm gonna say at least a 7-minute deadline. At least. 5, for me, would be much easier. Would a 5-minute deadline, would I necessarily recommend someone a 5-minute deadline who's just like been really trying 32 heat but haven't been able to do it? Probably not then. We might end up taking approval process 1. With Hestia, you really don't want to take damage control since this is going to be all about balancing around the deadline by quite a lot. However, we may want to start with Athena's keepsake, in which case damage control shouldn't be as big of a deal. Because we're going to want to take Athena's dash, basically, for this run. Like 100%. 100% of the time. We'll leave that one. 0 routine inspection. Pretty much every time. 0 routine. You have to do at least 20% force over time. Probably no heightened security, I'm going to say. We'll avoid that one. Underworld Customs, borderline free heat. Middleman Management, borderline free heat. Probably have to do double benefits package to reach 32. Just something, these are things that you just have to take, basically. Calisthenics, I don't recommend it. We could potentially take some. Again, I think this is all going to come down to balancing around being able to beat the deadline depending on the number of enemies you put there. Extreme measures, we're going to have to take some. We're probably going to have to do 3. We just have to. I don't think Extreme Measures 3 is so difficult that it's going to make or break a run most of the time. I mean, you could do 2. If you're not comfortable taking 2, this would be a very difficult run for you. I gotta say. We might offer some alternatives to some of these heat measures, but I think this is gonna be something that's pretty much gonna be required. Extreme Measures 4 is silly. Don't do it for 32 heat. It's not, if you're just looking to win a run, and it's not for any specific achievement, you just want to beat 32 heat, Extreme Measures 4 is not a good idea. It's not. Suddenly you take a fight that, because with the run as it is, if we get into sticks, we probably win. We probably are going to win if we can just get to sticks with this. Is how this is going to work. We're going to have to do some jury summons. Especially with 7 minutes on the tight deadline. We're going to need that heat. And we're probably going to have to go back and take some other things here. We're probably going to need 60%. I don't think the deadline should be that horrible. Now you might be thinking, hey, Dan, isn't jury summons a problem with Hestia? And you're probably right. Isn't EM4 plus middle management insanely harder than any other fight? Middle management doesn't affect Extreme Measures 4. It seems like it does, but you get those ads with or without it. You get the same ads with or without it. And actually, I'm kind of convincing myself. So Hestia struggles with AoE a lot of times. Maybe we'll get Ricochet Fire, maybe we won't. Maybe we won't. Yeah, no, so like the fight we just did, it has quote-unquote middle management ads, you know, that you would see in the middle of our run, but we don't have middle management on. That gave different ads. We all thought it did, but it doesn't. For a long time, we all thought middle management changed the ads in Extreme Measures 4, but it doesn't. So Hestia struggles with AoE. I just don't know. So you just gotta understand, 30% calisthenics, 30% more HP on all the bosses is just insane. It's a lot. Those fights are gonna take a long time, you know? I kind of feel like you gotta do double convenience. You're gonna have to do some amount of hard labor and lasting consequences here. It's kind of a question. Are you more comfortable with 40% forced overtime or more hard labor? You know what I mean? Damage control, with Hestia specifically, it's not a great idea. You can get it to work, but it's not a great idea. I'm thinking we do something like that. If this was Extreme Measures 4, I might swap it around, something like that. And then we gotta find 3 more heat, basically. We can't really do much more jury summons. We could probably do 1. But this is looking a little dicey. So you could do a 5-minute deadline from here. I'm thinking we might do something like this. Which might seem crazy because I always talk shit about approval process all the time. But from a player's perspective that is not comfortable with a 5-minute tight deadline, and there might not be comfortable with forced overtime at 40%, it might be what you have to do. It might be what you have to do. Again, I'm trying to approach this from someone who has not, maybe who has not been able to complete 32 yet, or at least hasn't been able to do it with Hestia, because this was requested by our beautiful moderator, Zanger, who's been trying to beat 32 heat Hestia for a while now. Now, the great thing about Hestia is it gives you range, you know? And a pretty high damage output. So we want to take advantage of that best we can. Heightened security is just something that you shouldn't really be able to have to deal with here. I think we could do it with this. My main question here is the calisthenics. I might prefer something like this. I think a 20% jury will be fine. I think the deadline will actually almost be a little too easy here, but that might just be for me and not necessarily for the average player. Alright, we use Meg's Summoning Companion for obvious reasons. We're using Hestia because it's easiest. It was specifically requested. But it's also kind of a good, it's kind of a good, if someone were to ask me what's the best weapon to beat 32 heat with, I might say Hestia if they're comfortable with it. I might say Hestia. Okay, so we want Athena's Dash. We're gonna use, I don't recommend Stubborn Defiance unless you do 100% lasting consequences, and you wouldn't usually do that for 32 heat. Stygian Soul is fine to avoid getting an additional boon from Hermes unless you really want to do a cast build. Thick Skin is obvious. Key status you could do. It kind of depends on what gods you're going to look for. We're mostly just going to look for like Athena's Dash and like Artemis's Attack or something like that nature. Dark Foresight, always take. I haven't turned off Dark Foresight in years at this point. Probably the same thing with Fated Persuasion. I think for Hestia, it's got to be God's Pride. There's not a lot of duo boons that are gonna, like, make a big deal here, I think. There's something to be said between maybe Chthonic and Dark Regeneration here. I think since we're doing 1 Calisthenics, I'm gonna do Fiery Presence, but it's kind of hard to say. I haven't used Dark Regeneration in a while, though, honestly. I've been kind of leaving on Chthonic Vitality. My main reasoning is that most doors we're gonna take are either gonna be Nectar or Keys, mostly Keys. We're not gonna want to take a lot of Darkness doors, you know? Here, Missy. So that's why, and I know like bosses drop Darkness if you've beaten the heat already, but you're about to see a fountain anyway, you know what I mean? I mean, if you have some amount of lasting consequences on, it's probably fine. I would try to make this a little bit more difficult for me and like get rid of some upgrades and stuff, but it's just not that easy. I could reset the mirror and reduce how many rolls I get and things like that, but yeah. Troves might give you darkness when you need health. I mean, Troves are pretty tough. It's not a bad thought, but when you're doing 32 heat and a lot of things are balanced around the tight deadline, Troves are pretty rough to think about taking. Do you recommend people work up 32 or just jump right up to it and run attempts? I'm at 20 heat at each weapon right now. If you can do 20 heat, I have supreme confidence you could accomplish 32 heat. Probably not your first try, I'd say. But if you've been able to beat 20 heat fairly, what would the term be? Consistently with a multitude of weapons, yeah, you could definitely do 32 heat. Isn't 7 minutes usually plenty of time? So it's gonna be for me, Blaze, but you gotta understand, like, not everyone is gonna be comfortable with a tight deadline. A tight deadline is what I'm trying to say, you know? So this would be fine for me most of the time. And also, you just don't know always. You might never see Thanatos. You might not get a single fountain chamber. You might not get a single story room. And your build might be low damage when you get to the bosses and things like that, you know? And so if you take a Trove and say Tartarus, because it seems like you have a lot of time in Tartarus, you could just end up getting screwed in Elysium and you're gonna regret it later. You don't know. Troves are kind of tough. It's something I don't think that hard about, and maybe I should think a little bit harder, potentially. But I wouldn't necessarily want to consider a trove too much. I'm trying to think if I want to change anything here before we get started. I'll leave it. Are there weapons or aspects that you think people shouldn't use on 32 heat? Guan Yu? Number one, I think. Can we all agree to that one? You know what I'm saying? Sword is kind of challenging. I think pretty much all the sword aspects, I think personally, are challenging to complete a 32 heat. Maybe the fist, but some people seem to really enjoy the fist, so I can't really think of anything else in particular after that. All right, I explained all the heats. Let us get started. Say hi to YouTube and be nice chatties. But also don't be afraid to ask questions, because it might help spur my mind molecules. Dash. There we go. I kind of forgot for a second that we have approval process on, and things could get really difficult, obviously, for that.
Your wisdom guide me.
All right. So if you don't know what how Hestia works, you don't want to do anything other than attack, reload, attack, reload, attack, reload. Don't get caught into, like, I want to hold down the attack and try to get some damage that way. It seems inefficient to reload after every attack. It is the most efficient way to use Hestia. You deal a lot of damage with the attack. We're going to utilize Athena's dash well here, best we can. You know, we don't have to do fancy tricks. I'm going to be pausing a lot and discussing decisions. This is a pretty obvious hammer. You got to keep in mind that with double convenience fee on, boons are going to cost $270 at the shops. Gold has a severe reduction in value because of the convenience fee inflation. We mostly going to want to pick up health, boons, palms. We also have Underworld Customs on, so you have to constantly be thinking about, am I going to have a boon to sell? Am I going to have a boon to sell? Welcome, Danny. Alrighty. First hammer. So here's the thing about Seeking Fire. I believe... Okay, so the reload and powered shot from Hestia is not affected by the Seeking nature. You will not home in any better with Seeking Fire. You might get 10% more damage. You might, but I'm not sure. I'm not even sure about that. You probably do, but 10% is obviously not a big number. Explosive Fire kind of works. These are mediocre choices, I would say. Attacks deal damage in an area, briefly slows foes. So sometimes you'll get that AoE effect and you'll be able to hit more than one enemy. With your attack, which is nice. It's not going to happen like super often, I'd say, but it's probably better. The slowing of foes, considering we're attacking, reloading constantly, the slowness is not, you're not going to feel it all that much. If you're rapidly attacking with the rail, you'll feel the effects of the slow a little bit better, I would say. The shops have reduced value too, or do you still value them for the time save? Still value them for the time save. You just want to play it super safe when it comes to that. I mean, there might be the rare occasion that you'd want to take you want to skip a shop to take, say, a hammer maybe, or like the perfect god for the build or something like that. But it's kind of tough. Since we can abuse god keepsakes, which we are definitely going to do here, it's not usually a good idea, though. Like, we might see an Artemis. Let's say we see Artemis on the door versus a shop. Like, it might be really tempting to take, even if I don't have enough money to buy anything in the shop. It might be really tempting to take that Artemis boon, but we can just put it on our keepsake later. That's the great thing about a fully leveled Hestia aspect. You can see it now. We deal plenty of damage. We don't need the damage right now. You know, we can survive for a little while. All right, so here's Zeus. I really would have loved to take the call if we could have. I don't think I should roll here for the most part. We want to save our rolls for meaningful things, and the call would be nice, but it's not going to be that super meaningful. The special's bad because it's bad. Yeah, you really don't. You'd want it to be a rapid hitting special in order for that to be effective, I'd say. Honestly, I'm just going to take Heaven's Vengeance. Remember, every single option you have to think about Underworld Customs. I actually think Underworld Customs is one of the most interesting packs of punishment that we have. You have to sell a boon between each biome. It's nice, I think.
Louds.
it makes you think about your choices. Now, the only unfortunate thing is that you don't necessarily get the choice to sell. Not every boon you have might be an option to sell. That's the big issue, I'd say there. You gotta get used to what they call pause buffering. This is nice for our deadline. Pause buffering when door options unlock, because you want to pause to find out if you're gonna want the door or not. This is probably worth a roll. There's quite a few boons that could be helpful here. Not so much the attack. Unless it's like epic attack, I don't think we'd take it. The special's pretty bad / just not useful overall, I'd say. Hydraulic Might is good. The call is incredibly good. The call is probably the #1 pick here if we can get it. Just one roll. Don't go crazy. You got to be very conservative with your rolls. Okay. So we're eating dirt right now, I'd say. I would have taken the cast just to fill a slot, kind of.
I love you, Twitch chat. Oh, come back again, please. Woohoo!
Anything for the gifts up to Finks. You could sell the special. Again, it's no guarantee. We're going to see more boons. We're not even at the mini-boss yet. The thing is, though, I don't really care about the damage on the special. It's not a good special, usually, for the rail. But it's something to sell. Sunken Treasure is really bad. It doesn't give you a lot of gold. We're still going to play it safe. I know you guys are probably like, Trials, oh my god, the value, I'm losing my mind! No, it's bait. Trials last a long time. They're dangerous. You're going to lose a lot of health. Unless you are really short on boons, and you're worried that you might have to sell something that you really want to keep, I actually don't recommend it most of the time. Yes, we do not have anything, we do not have enough money to buy at the shop, but skipping shops are dangerous. Oh, I missed a gold pot. Athena Trials. Athena Trials might be the kind that we would more heavily consider. Here we go. Artemis. All right. I don't know if there's a lot to say about the sneak here. You don't have to rush these things. You know, you can kind of run in with Athena's dash to reflect some attacks and things like that.
Hello again.
Help me. Oh. Oh, Artemis. Oh, honey. Again, you don't want to go all in. I know Artemis, it's like, oh, Artemis, I really want Artemis's attack with this. You wouldn't want to spend all your rolls. We can spend one roll. We have Athena's dash. Some things are filled in. That's fine. There we go. It's fine. Nothing to get upset about, chat. So again, we have two boons we don't mind selling. Heaven's Vengeance and the Poseidon special. Heaven's Vengeance doesn't do a ton. It does something. The special probably does less than Heaven's Vengeance a lot of times, I'm gonna say. I think Heaven's Vengeance would do more on average here. Now, this is a tough decision. Okay, it's less tough because what's on the door. The thing is, though, especially with approval process on, and especially where you're very limited on rerolls, Chaos is very dangerous. It's harder to get the health back from Chaos. We have 50% lasting consequences on. It's going to be hard to get that health. Yes, it saves time, but I'm kind of thinking about what's happened so far. We got a fountain room. That's lucky. We didn't have to skip the shop for a reason, which can happen. And the mini-boss went pretty quickly. I think things are going pretty smoothly that we can skip Chaos here. Elysium is a place where you might not want to skip Chaos even if the deadline looks pretty good. Just because the foes there are quite a bit more dangerous. We'll check this trove. I don't think it's worth it. We already have 2 boons to sell, potentially 3 after the next room. And since we're already sacrificing time save... Come on, I shot this over here. By not taking Chaos, I think this is the right move. The hard part is here, if you play with a controller, you probably need to rebind the reload for the rail, because the default button for reloading on the rail is silly. It's like R3 or something. It's the only thing I rebind in the game. Kind of a tough room. Okay. All right. We can't see Lightning Rod. We're thinking about what duo boons could this open up? Can't see Lightning Rod. Can't see Lightning Phalanx if I take the cast. Would I bind it to left trigger for me? Use a Thrustmaster eSwap Pro X controller, which is similar to an Xbox controller in layout. The call's strong. It deals a lot of damage. The thing is, though, it's worth considering not taking this because we're not going to want to be in melee range. You know what I mean? We don't want to be in melee range with this. We want to stay far away and stay safe. This is also, our quote-unquote god pool is full. I kind of explained this a little bit earlier, so I'll shorten this here. I'll shorten this here. Once you pick up 4 different gods boons in a run, you're not going to be offered other gods after that. So we know that this is the gods that we're going to see. Artemis, Poseidon, Athena, Zeus. Those are the gods that we're all going to see. So I'm thinking about what call boons would I want out of those 4 gods. Zeus's call is always strong in terms of damage output. But in terms of safety, I don't know. Athena's 0 damage output, all safety. Poseidon is a good mix of both. I like Poseidon's call here a lot for these kinds of runs. I don't think this is worth rolling for anything. Therefore, I'm going to fill what we like to call fill a slot here, chat. We're going to fill in an electric shot. You will always take a roll here, for sure, over something like that. And thus, if we do see Poseidon, we'll have increased chances. Also, I don't mind selling the cast again. So we got 3 options to sell, so that's pretty good. And the cast here is okay. It kinda does something. In a way, it might make the build slightly worse, because if you try to cast out a boss to get the boiling blood debuff on them, it might just bounce right off of them, and you don't get it on the right enemy and stuff like that. So it's a bit problematic in that sense, but it does provide some AoE. If you ever get Hades' Call, not in 32 heat, I wouldn't recommend it. That's really kind of a speedrun thing. Alright, we got gold and a palm. We have a lot of boons. So palms are less good when you have a lot of boons, and you only want to palm like one of them. I literally only have 1 boon I want to palm, and it's the attack. Huh. So it's a 1... Not a 1 out of 5, right? It's a, I don't know, how do you do these odds here? The 3 out of 5 chance, is that how that works? Did we get to palm it? Yeah, math, right? I honestly feel like the palm's not that good. We might be forced to take palms later. Like, getting 2 palms on the attack is pretty good for the run, but I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I don't feel like the palm is really worth it. Palms kind of wind up falling off, especially, yeah, we have an approval process too, so it's actually like a 2 out of 5 chance, right? And if we end up palming anything else, there's a chance that we won't be able to keep that thing because of Underworld Customs. Alright. If you're ever struggling because you didn't get Athena's dash or whatever, you can always just restart a run if the first boon is bad, you know? Alright, I checked this because we want to see what chamber number we're in. We are in number 12. We have 1, 2, 3 boons we don't mind selling. Don't really want to sell the slot boons necessarily, potentially though. I'm going to take the free health. We have 130, which isn't bad. But we could potentially use our gold to buy a boon in Asphodel or something, because we're probably going to want to take the mid shop anyway to save time. Timer's looking good. 3 minutes 14 still on the clock, which should be pretty good. You really just kind of want to train yourself to kind of save dashes for right before an attack, you know? It's kind of like how, you know, like in Punch-Out or something, you don't just start dodging ahead of time. You wait until you see the, I don't know, the whites of their eyes? What do people say? Okay, we gotta use Athena's dash here to good effect. There we go. We're Gooching. We're Gooching right now. Alright, here's where some big decisions come in. It's when you star punch, yeah.
I'll just be a moment, Father.
Alright, so first things first. Don't just equip a new keepsake without looking at everything else.
Should I take the
Look at this first. I think I'm gonna sell Heaven's Vengeance. And we can kind of use the odds here in our favor when we swap our keepsake. So it all makes sense. I actually feel like Heaven's Vengeance might provide slightly more utility than Electric Shot.
Could use the extra coin.
But that's okay. That's very, very, this is a powerful upgrade with Hestia. But we kind of want to play it safe. It's only for 6 encounters. It might last till Lerny, but not far after that anyway. So I don't think so. So since we have 4 out of 5 slots filled, I'm kind of happy with taking Poseidon's keepsake and trying to get his call. Now there's a big issue here, and I've talked a lot about it with the no-hit runs, which is that you build up a call based on how many... mostly based on how much damage you take and how many hits you deliver. Not so much in how much damage you deliver, but how many hits. So if you have a rapid-firing attack, your call's going to build up a lot faster. So trying to force a specific call boon, it's kind of counterintuitive here. Why is Poseidon's call better than Athena's? It practically gives you the same amount of vulnerability, but also damages enemies. So, I don't find Athena's call very powerful overall, especially if you're allowed Poseidon. The damage is a lot from Poseidon's call too. It's either that, or you... I don't think I'll go for that. It's either that, or you probably put on Acorn to try to preserve your Death Defiances. Now, the Acorn's not going to protect you from lava and stuff like that, but it'll protect you from the big hits that Lerny can deliver to you. And so, yeah, you mostly want to do that. I don't usually recommend Cerberus's keepsake, ever, pretty much. I can't think of an instance, really. Alright, Hermes can be extremely good or extremely bad. There's a lot of not useful boons from Hermes. But also some extremely powerful ones, as you can imagine. As you've all seen. My number one taken boon across the game has always been the greater reflex. Extra dashes be good, you know what I mean? Don't be scared when these guys dash toward you. Oh, okay, well, I messed that up though. If they're dashing toward you, they can't hit you. It's only when they're next to you that they'll attack. These options aren't amazing. Auto reload is not for our build, and greater evasion is okay. I don't think we should settle for it though, because most of the other build is already put together. So I think it's good to roll here. Probably just once though.
Choices then.
Yeah, special speed doesn't do anything for us. Hermes might be the most important factor at this point, but I don't know about spending all of our rolls still here. Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to just take greater evasion here. There'll be another Hermes. There's Poseidon. You gotta check all the doors. Yeah, the other options aren't great. You have 3 Death Defiances, then it's always better than Tooth, right? Yeah, because the Tooth always gets used last. Skelly's Tooth, that always gets used last, so unless you're, like, out of Death Defiances already, I wouldn't recommend it. And the more hard labor you have on from the Pact of Punishment, the better the Tooth becomes when you think about it. Sorry, the better the Acorn becomes, not the Tooth. Now, now there's, hey Seagull. What was I saying? There's an instance where I feel like Skelly's Tooth is better. If you're at very high heat, and things are looking kind of dire, especially entering Elysium, I kind of recommend it. If you have Extreme Measures 4 on, it's often better, I think, personally, for the EM4 Hades fight, just because the ads tend to get you and stuff like that, you know? And those don't even deal a lot of damage, so if you had the Acorn run, the Acorn feels wasted. Alright, so it's obviously not the green boon here. Sea Storm only triggers from our special, and that's bad. And I bet some people are thinking, like, take the green boon and sell it, Dan. That's silly. Don't do that. Hydraulic Might does some work. I don't think it's really worth rolling here when Hydraulic Might is right there. Hydraulic Might good. Hydraulic Might good. Does Poseidon's Call trigger Sea Storm? It would, but I don't have it yet, yeah. I would not recommend taking something like Sea Storm in the hopes that it'll eventually work. You know?
Olympus, I accept this message.
Oh, Ooh, I would have loved Hyper Sprint here. Those are bad. These are mediocre options to say the least. Probably one of some of the worst options here. We're gonna have to roll that. All right, Hyper Sprint's pretty decent. It puts distance between us. It'll help, especially with the heroes fight. If the bull starts charging, the sturdy effect kind of does something. I don't think that's that big of a deal, but just getting that movement and being able to move away from attacks is pretty potent. Athena's not amazing here. We can't get an extra DD. We could get the call, which is okay, but it's not that important, I don't think. You know? We'll take the shop, save the time. We'll buy this Poseidon, and we'll buy the health. I can afford both, right? I don't think I can. I think I still buy Poseidon.
I'll take this one.
Yoy. Yikes. That's pretty bad. This is a tough roll. I think we just take something to sell. A potential sell. Roll for the call. I don't think the call's that important. It's a nice to have. I'd rather save our last roll in case like we get really screwed at the purging well. Mostly. Alright, this fight's actually pretty challenging. Alright, you want to get on top. The Medusa head doesn't deal a ton of damage, so that's okay, but that thing does. Ooh, and I got hit by it. Alright, so I did not play that very well, to be honest. Yikes. There's not a ton here that I'd want from Zeus anyway. I think I just take... So Storm Lightning does nothing, but it's a higher rarity and it's worth more money. Heaven's Vengeance kind of does something. I'm gonna take Heaven's Vengeance. Gold isn't that crazy here. Poseidon Call the strongest one. I think for 32 heat, Poseidon might be my top choice for the call. It makes you invulnerable and it deals a good chunk of damage. Chaos here. I don't think this is the last chamber.
Just a bit longer.
Okay, okay.
Delicious.
That's good. This is a palm, right? Hades Call? I think I already answered that. No, I would not recommend it for 32 heat. Alright, that was the last chamber. Hey, Merrick. A revenge boon's bad in journal. It feels like it, kinda. I mean, this is the kind of thing where we're trying not to get hit, so it's kind of hard to think of a place where you really want this. There is a place for them, I think. I think Bablo has kind of shown for speedruns that some of them, at least, are not that bad, really. But when you're just trying not to get hit, I don't think they really... I don't think there's often a time where you want them, you know? So we don't take Chaos because it's just an extra chamber anyway. We're already at the last chamber here. We might as well take a free boon. I guess we'll accept the call from Athena. The time's looking fine. 7 minutes 45 on the deadline. That's pretty easy, you know, at this point.
Olympus.
Things are looking gooch. Very good, Athena. It's still not worth rolling. The roll is like an emergency kind of thing at this point. You don't want to spend the last roll unless you get cornered into something really bad, you know? I'd say. Holy Shield doesn't do a ton. I guess Blinding Flash kind of works. We don't have Privilege status on because it's kind of too dangerous when you're limited on rolls and you have Approval Process 1 on. We'll take this. We kind of don't mind selling it either. Not going to do a ton. Sure Footing. Not so much for sticks, but more so for lava, potentially. Sure Footing's okay. I probably would have taken Sure Footing over Exposed there if it's a high enough rarity. Can't even backstab Lerny. Alright, it's kind of important to know what heads do what, especially if you're using Extreme Measures Lerny. Mostly for the main head, if anything. And just be wary of what's going to come out of it. This Lerny head, they all do a slam. You need to know. This one shoots out those lasers, which you can reflect. Deflect? Reflect. You honestly don't even have to get close like I have been there. The vengeance been work. Does learning have a back though? I don't know. I mean, if you have a head, you technically have the back to your head, do you not? Like the Skull Crusher enemies, you can backstab those, and they're just a head floating in the air. If you did have a call boon, you really want to save it for that big phase with all the heads coming out. I'd recommend.
Lovely chatting with you, Lerny.
When going back to sure footing, I've lost a little bit of health. If you are going back to sure footing, if you're not taking heightened security, sure footing is not going to do a ton. All right, so at this point, you really want to set yourself up where all you're doing is playing it safe from Elysium on. Protect your Death Defiances, take the Acorn. You might think, like, the Spiked Collar helps you, but the Acorn is just really powerful. I'll buy this. It's okay. Oh, I have to sell something. I almost forgot. I shouldn't have changed my keepsake that easily. All right, this is... Does it matter, really? Not that much. I kind of would rather get rid of Electric Shot a little bit. It's not a big deal. I'm not really using either one to much effect. It's so low powered at this point that it's not really helping anyway. Ivlami has a pretty good health on return for the cost. High value, you know what I mean? Poor Dan, or is it poor Thrustmaster? Probably poor Thrustmaster. Not getting their money's worth, you know? Is there a set damage multiplier on critical hits? Yeah, it's 300%, 3 times damage. Actually, if you look at the description, I think it says 200%, which always kind of fools me. Yeah, it does say 200, which I guess you could interpret it as 3 times. But I always kind of felt like that was confusing to me. Maybe just because most video games, when you get a critical hit, it does double damage. You know what I mean? And so that's just was my assumption a lot of times, so yeah. Erebus Gates we haven't actually considered yet. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. You don't take an Erebus Gate unless the reward is pretty substantial or fitting what you need. And a hammer is always going to be way more. The thing is, since we took Explosive Fire from the first hammer, there's some things that we might have wanted that we can't get now. I don't think we can get Ricochet or Piercing now that we have Explosive. I know you definitely can't get Piercing Fire, which is a pretty good hammer upgrade with Hestia. I'm pretty sure you can't get Ricochet, which is probably the best one with Hestia. So, yeah, actually, kind of interesting here.
My weapon's hidden talents.
Yeah. Okay. Erebus Gates on high heat are traps? Like, you have to be pretty comfortable with it, I'd say. Alright, chat. Do I need to even discuss this? Honestly. Do I? I didn't really want Cluster Bomb that badly. I actually feel like Targeting System is one of the better ones for Hestia. Critical hit in D&D is double, so I always assume a crit is double and everything. That's sort of how I feel too, Waffle. Someone call it Mirror. Hazard Bomb's not bad on Hestia. But I feel like it's kind of memey, you know? It's OP on Hestia. I don't know if I'd go that far, you know? Targeting system, I mean, making an enemy take 30% additional damage from this high-powered attack is pretty juicy. I think we can win with Hazard Bomb, no problem. I think we'll do fine, but it does add an extra element that you have to pay attention to, is the thing. It just kind of adds something. If you're not used to Hazard Bomb, I probably wouldn't recommend taking it, you know? This is a 32 heat run, so taking something like this, I don't know if I'd recommend it if this is like the first time you're trying to beat 32 heat, you know? Just take Targeting System, it's fine. It's fine. I do think if you're doing like 0 to 10 heat, there's a sandwich. If you're doing 0 to 10 heat, Hazard Bomb is actually really powerful just to try to score like sort of a cheesy win. And stuff.
Let's see how quickly I can slay you all.
Alright, so we take health there, because palms just are not amazing. when we have so many boons that we kind of don't really care about. It might let us upgrade the attack, it might not, you know. It did take Hazard Bomb, right? I believe I did. We actually chose Hazard Bomb. It's not a horrible choice, but you just gotta... The only reason I wouldn't recommend it is that you gotta pay attention to it now, you know? Like, this is something that you didn't really have to worry that hard about, and now you have to worry about it. Why do I value health over other upgrades? It's 32 hate, you need health. Health is good. Health is substantially better than a palm on average, probably. Most of our boons are not actually helpful to our build. The palmable boons that are helpful are the attack, hydraulic might, not even really exposed, and that's pretty much it. 2 boons out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 palmable boons. Meanwhile, you're guaranteed for this health to be helpful for you, you know? I'll probably buy this Zeus. Again, mostly something to sell. Okay, I don't want to fill in the call. We can probably skip that health. We have Poseidon on the door, so we didn't want to fill that in anyway. Welcome back, Electric Shot! Lightning reflexes, we're staying far away from enemies, so it's not going to really do much for us anyway. I want Poseidon's Call, it's super safe. Hey, Lightning Rod, too good. Alright, this is the mini-boss you really don't want. This is the mini-boss you really don't want. It's the hardest mini-boss, I believe, in the game. And I feel like in some ways this fight is harder than if the Bull's solo in the Heroes Room because the charge is really hard to deal with. Luckily, we got Hyper Sprint to help us. You need to have a Meg for this. I haven't really talked about Megs. Don't use Meg on Lerny unless like you think you're about to die, basically. You probably want to skip using Meg in the mini boss in Tartarus. You need to have a Meg for this in Hades, in the heroes at a minimum. You gotta have 3 Megs coming into this. We got 4. Use it right away, get the guaranteed hit, and it's fine. As the mom gets crazy, I'm more than aware. I mean, 768 damage is more than what our attack is currently doing, but... I think it's a bit advanced, potentially. I guess if you're trying 32 heat, though, maybe it's not as advanced as I think. Like, if you're trying 32 heat, maybe you've kind of tried this. It's gonna ram you, Roger Rabbit. I actually know that quote. I'm gonna ram him. Am I doing it so fast? No, I have 7-minute tight deadline, Zang. It's 7 minutes, it's 7 minutes. It's not that crazy. Alright. There we go. You had 7 minute 2. I said I was gonna choose a 7-minute deadline because I feel like not everyone is comfortable with 5. I had 7 minute 2 and I was too slow. Gotta get those pause bufferings in. This is a pretty obvious call boon, like we've been talking about. Daddy, never punished ever in my life. All right, so here you'd want to take Hydrolite. Just play it safe. Don't big ball and take the jerky like I am. I should have done what I tell people to do. I shouldn't go against what I'm saying. I don't know, maybe the jerky, like, even as a new player. Maybe the jerky's not totally wrong. It'll get you through the heroes fight faster and stuff like that, you know? It lasts for 10 chambers, and that's not a short amount of time. It's the strongest buff you can get. You know what I mean? It's 60% attack damage increase, not special damage, for 10 enemy encounters. It's very powerful. It's very powerful. It might be correct to take, in our current circumstance, even if you're trying for the first time, given where our health status was, it might have been correct. Obviously, if you're down even a single Death Defiance, you take the DDs. You take the DDs. That's all. Even if you're just down 1. This is kind of an interesting choice. I might value the health a little bit higher here. You gotta think about what boons that can be offered right now. Sea Storm, Billowing Strength, Storm Lightning, if I didn't already pick that earlier. Heaven's Vengeance, because I think we sold it. Not a lot of great stuff. Billowing Strength is okay, but it's kind of hard to build that call. And how many boons do we don't mind selling? I want to keep the attack, the dash, the call, probably Hydraulic Might. The Hermes boons are pretty good. Boop. That's 7 boons out of, God, so many. We probably just play it safe and don't get screwed over by the Purging Well and take another boon that we might not mind selling. Would Sea Storm be good to call? It would be, but, well, you gotta bear in mind, I haven't been able to use the call once already. Like, it doesn't build up that fast when you're only attacking, hello? That was a bit odd. When it's just like one hit every now and then. Now, the more you're getting hit, block that Hazard Bomb damage. The more you're getting hit, the faster that call's gonna build, but I don't know. How much is Explosive Shot contributing to speed? Not that much. Ricochet still would have been significantly better. Piercing probably would have been quite a bit better in terms of hammer upgrades. Like, that saved us an extra shot there, potentially. But you can only compare a hammer against what other hammers could be offered, you know what I mean? I mean, here we are, chat. I still didn't build up a call in that whole chamber. Storm Lightning is absolutely useless anyway. The bad boon. The only reason you'd ever take Storm Lightning is to hope to get the Zeus Legendary. We don't do the Price of Midas here. That's silly. That's not gonna help very much. There's no traps in the Heroes Room. There's one... So, the pillars in the Asterius mini-boss fight are traps. And if you have this walking into that, those traps will start dealing like 3,200 damage. It's actually very strong at the beginning of Elysium. But week after that, for the most part. I don't know if at 32 heat I'd still recommend it, because it's kind of a lot of money. Nemesis Crest is not great. We don't need money. We'll go this way. The fact that I took Jerky over health is going to skew it so much harder. I mean, most enemies are dying with one hit anyway, so it's not going to be that crazy. If I was watching someone else run this, and they still had 3 DDs and nearly max health walking into Patty with the same exact build, I might tell them to take the Jerky. I don't know. Ban and Elysium. Oh yeah, this is lucky, by the way. For the most part. You don't have to go crazy and try to do a fucking shutout on Than here or anything. Just get enough kills best you can. If you get really far ahead, you can just kind of run away into a corner. So Thanatos pauses the in-game timer, including tight deadline. Plus, an extra 25 health is always amazing for the entire run. It's not a big deal where you see them, but it was literally the last chamber of Elysium. So for the purpose of tight deadline, that is literally the best case scenario. Because theoretically, the longest chamber in any run is the last chamber of Elysium. The enemies are chunky, and you get a lot more of them. So literally the best case scenario for Thanatos, probably. Because it pauses tight deadline during that. All right, we're kind of broke. We can't even afford max health, so we just do this. I'm crying. Dan's RNG. We got Chamber 1 Athena-2, by the way, Zhang. I guess it's the call, even though I haven't been able to use the call a single time right now. You definitely don't spend rolls on calls. Wait, what'd I just say? Don't spend rolls on palms, is what I meant to say. The special? It's not crazy. I think it's potentially correct here. Because Hazard Bomb is dealing a lot of damage. You know what I mean? She's gonna climb through the internet to fight you? It wasn't that lucky at the start. Okay, there's a big trick here, and there's a lot to say about how to do this. My easiest way to describe this is if you're using a controller, as soon as the dialogue finishes on this, tap up on your D-pad, not your joystick. Tap straight up on your D-pad, immediately hit the Meg button. Do not move Zagreus until the circles start to drop, because Meg will always drop her circles perpendicular to the way Zag is facing. So if Zag is facing true north, Meg will drop her circles from west to east. It's mirrored, so like this, basically. And that's how you make sure that you hit do not cast it. Just play it safe and don't do anything else. Just hit up and Meg, and then wait a couple seconds. You don't have to wait long. And that's way you can make sure it hits both heroes. There's no danger. So tap up, Meg button, wait a second. There are the circles, start moving. Now, you mostly want to focus the Minotaur down first. You gotta watch out for Theseus here, though. After Minotaur has been phased, you do get projectiles. This is the scariest move that can happen. I wish I had advice for that, but I don't think I do. Run. Try to get him to hit the pillars, and that's the best you can do. You kind of want to wind up behind the bull, because the projectiles that the bull shoots out, they go like directly in front and to the left and right of him, but they don't shoot out behind him. After that, you're kind of just take it easy with Theseus. There's no need. Well, okay, there might be a need to rush, but hopefully not too much. All right, there we go. And we go, Dan, did you see my run? I haven't seen it yet. Maybe I should have done a critique of the run in the choices made. I mean, I can't really critique the moves that have occurred. Now I can finally use my call. It got blocked the first time. We got 2 calls out of that whole fight. We were at 30 seconds left before the heroes. Take those chops, baby, even if you're broke.
Thanks for believing in me, my good shade.
Always talk to the good shade. Did I get hit? Zang, haven't you completed 32 heat on like a bunch of other things? We have 2 megs. I don't think I buy another spindle. This is kind of iffy because it'll wear off in the 3 small chambers in the first Styx path. This will probably wear off well before Hades. What do we have to sell? Huh. It's probably Razor Shoals. With Hazard Bomb dealing the amount of damage it is, it's not horrible. But against Hades, it's not that helpful. I think we ditch it. I don't really care about the extra money that Blinding Flash would give us. Leave Acorn since we're doing, we only did Extreme Measures 3, normal Hades fight. You only have 5 aspects left in your 32 heat. That's crazy, Zang. I honestly thought Hestia would be one of the first ones.
Hope it's nicer outside than it is in here.
What are some of the other aspects that do you have left, Zang? I usually call Hestia one of the safest ones, even at high heat. We're looking at the shop here. Gonna pause buffer, of course. Whenever you're thinking about anything, you gotta pause buffer. You're bad? You're not bad. You've done 19 out of 24 aspects at 32 heat. You can't call yourself bad. Hestia is still, it is a play style that is not seen anywhere else in the game. Right? I think I probably just want the health. It matches. But I don't want to buy it just yet. What can Athena give me? Brown skin. Proud bearing. Actually, I think Artemis is best here. It's only our second Artemis boon, I believe. Hunter's Mark is just a really, really powerful boon. Incredibly powerful. Let's do it this way. Deadly Reversal. You can't get it. You need something besides it. You need Athena's special or attack to get Deadly Reversal. The dash doesn't enable it. Yeah, getting to know the codex, like, don't be afraid to, like, just pause, open up the codex when looking at boons. You can open up the codex when the boon window's open. You're gonna want to do that. Figure out what's gonna be offered and things like that. I mean, I've memorized it all by now, for the most part. So, I'm probably making it look simpler than it is, but... I can Meg here, but we have middle management on, so there's going to be a second ad, and this ad doesn't have a lot of health. This other ad, though. I can do that now. Ah! Okay, there we go. Yeah, Sadar has way more health. The big bother doesn't have a lot of health. That's fine. Ah! There we go. Blue Hunter's Mark. White Gooch. White Gooch chatties. If you don't take Chaos Gates, high confidence is fine. Ooh. Taking high confidence 32 heat? I mean, unless you're speedrunning it, I don't think the benefit's there. The temperature is 74 degrees Fahrenheit or almost 24 Celsius. I don't think it has much of a benefit. We are gonna buy the health now. It makes the fountain heal for more. I didn't want to take it right away because I want to make sure we had enough money to buy the Stubborn Defiance buff in case we run into a well. The one that wait, no, sorry. We are not using Stubborn Defiance. Never mind. I'm an idiot. Maybe you just want to buy regular health from a well, or even attack jerky, because at this point it would probably be worth it if we can get it to last till Hades. You really just gotta pray for a 2-sack. There's no strategy. There's really nothing that you can do. Huh. Hydrolite is not worth it at our current amount of health. Error Spangle. It's not bad. It's not great either. There's a Zeus spoon in the shop. We're about to pick up Athena. Nail of Talos, I mean, unless you're doing Extreme Measures 4, I don't think it's gonna be worth that amount of gold. That Zeus spoon in the shop costs 270. I think I skip. Might rather buy Zeus. Come on. All right. Alrighty. Luck be a lady tonight. I could spend a roll here if I thought there was something useful here. Zhang is so triggered right now. Just get lucky, Zhang. What else can I tell you? I mean, we had 13 minutes on the clock, so... You still don't want to take extra chambers because it'll deal damage to you. So the question here is... Bronze skin. We don't have heightened security on, so I don't think sure footing is worth it. You know, if you had heightened security on for the Pact of Punishment, 100% sure footing, not even a question. A heightened security pot deals 150 damage to you. So full health, 3 DDs, 295, bronze skin, easy game, chat. It's billowing strength. That's like the only thing that's helpful here. And it's very helpful. That's a lot of damage. Hey, Carlos. That's a lot of damage. Billowing strength is a very, very, very good boon. It's almost always correct to take it. I mean, it might be kind of iffy in this situation, but the run's almost over, and there's nothing else from Zeus that we probably want that I could think of, honestly. Nothing else to do. Play the fight. Stay out of range. Don't get greedy. You know? This case, tears streaming down my face. I feel like there's a song in there that I can't think of. How did Carlos manage to show up for his run, you know? Bronze skin, right on the docket.
Our last exchange left much to be desired for my part, but this time we shall see.
Dan's new house's fireplace. It's like one big candle. Coldplay, I'm not crying. All right, we still have Meg. I should probably think about this. It's not extreme measures Hades once again. If you don't Meg immediately, you're taking sort of a risk here. I still think phase 1 is probably harder than phase 2 most of the time. You either want to Meg immediately, and I think I'm kind of too late already to do it. Just spam the button as you enter the fight. Or you have to, the safest way is to either wait until one of 2 attacks probably. And you still probably want to do it in phase 1 still. Either immediately after he spins, because there's a longer delay between his attacks after he spins, or as he's summoning pots. Summoning pots is kind of dangerous though. You still gotta be pretty close to it. You don't want to Meg as you enter phase 2, because Meg will not target Hades if he's still invulnerable, and he might run out of the way. So we're gonna wait for a spin, I think, here. To Meg. You could try to wait for the ads and stuff, but it's kind of getting fancy, and you don't know who Meg's gonna target necessarily. Meg targets the closest enemy, and you might not get the right angle and stuff like that. Use the pillars. Use the pillars, chat. Especially when Hades is invisible. Hades can hit you through pillars with like the big spin, for instance. So don't think that you're invulnerable to that. But still, like, the boiling bloods can't hit you. So this is where you try to play it very safe. You take double damage with boiling blood on. It's time to run. Don't panic. But if you have to avoid dealing damage for a little while for that to work, so be it. Alright. Destroy these if you get a chance, otherwise you can just outrange them, the skulls on the ground. You can outrange those, but you cannot outrange the phase change wave. Ooh, those... Oh, you actually got me. Alright, I have a Poseidon here. You'd mostly want to save this call for, like, panic moments. Bad spot, you know, that kind of thing. Bum, ba-dum-ba-dum-bum. Okay.
Finish this.
You still want to get that cast lodged. I mean, it's 50% extra attack and special damage. It's quite a bit. You don't really want to use a full call, really. Because you kind of just want to use the call to avoid getting hit. This phase just feels so much easier than phase 1. You don't have to worry about the ads. No dog, even. Whoa! Whoa! You can hug Dad during this. You probably are aware of that if you're doing 32 heat. I don't know if I'd recommend it, though. I mean, if you're not trying to speedrun it, there's kind of... Unless like your timer is just about to die, I wouldn't really recommend it. Ow. You can actually shoot over with things like the rail special here. You can shoot over the columns and stuff. If you have ricochet, you can have it ricochet over the column. That was needlessly greedy. Ah. Oh, he's dead. Hazard bomb kill. Bam. There. Talk about the importance of empty dashing for iframes. That sounds a bit advanced, even for a 32 heat run. I think I talked about it in my last Overexplained. I'm not certain if it's the same thing that you're describing. Dashes provide what they call iframes. That's invulnerability frames. You are briefly invincible while dashing, for the most part. For a few frames, as they call it, which isn't even a full second. So you can utilize those to avoid getting hit. It means that if you're a panic dasher, It's gonna be a bit tougher for you. You have to train yourself not to mash, basically. Mashing attacks and stuff when you're paying attention. Oh, that's actually kind of a good thing to bring up, I'd say. So if you dash, you get those iframes that we just described. If you dash attack, meaning you mash the attack while you were dashing, you don't get those iframes. You really just want to attack between your dashes most of the time. Obviously, there are certain builds where you're going to be relying on your dash attacks to deal damage, and you can't really do much about that, but for something like this, you really don't need to be dash attacking. So yeah, you really don't want to be holding down that attack button or mashing it while you're dashing around if you're trying to not get hit. Alright, and that's our Overexplained run. Wow, it's later than I thought. Cough, sword builds, cough, right? There we go. Hazard bomb, explosive fire. I kind of forgot I had building strength by the end. I guess just Athena's dash, and that's or maybe hyper sprint, you know, that kind of thing. It's updated. So I'm dying in my divine dash, merciful end run. It's possible, but I mean, if you have merciful end and you're using divine dash, it seems like you're just trying to go balls to the wall, you know.